Meeting ground rule number 14, switch off all cell phones. Focus is a choice, and meetings deserve your full attention. In today's hyper-connected world, the urge to check a buzzing phone is almost automatic. But in a meeting environment, especially one where decisions are being made or problems are being solved, those tiny distractions come at a high cost. This rule reminds us that meaningful collaboration requires undivided attention, and the first step toward that is silencing the constant pull of our devices. A ringing phone, even if quickly dismissed, interrupts the flow of thought. It breaks concentration, derails conversations, and sends a message to others in the room. Something else is more important than this meeting. That momentary lapse may seem harmless, but when repeated across several attendees, it erodes the discipline and presence of the entire group. Switching off phones, or at the very least putting them on silent and out of sight, is not just about avoiding noise, it's about eliminating mental drift. Even a glance at a notification or message pulls the brain away from the discussion. It takes several seconds, sometimes minutes, to fully return to the topic. Multiply that across a team, and you lose valuable time, clarity, and cohesion. This rule is especially important in short, focused meetings where every minute counts. If participants are half engaged, distracted by texts, or toggling between screens, the quality of input suffers. People miss details, repeat questions, or fail to pick up on key signals from others in the room. What could have been accomplished in 30 minutes gets stretched out and diluted. Leaders and meeting chairs play a crucial role here. When they model this behavior by placing their phones face down or out of reach, it sets the tone for the rest of the group. It also gives implicit permission for others to fully disconnect from their devices and focus on the conversation at hand. Of course, emergencies and exceptions exist. In those rare cases, the right approach is to inform the chair beforehand or step out quietly if absolutely necessary. But these should be the exception, not the norm. Most things can wait 30 to 60 minutes, especially when the meeting has been scheduled and prioritized in advance. In virtual or hybrid meetings, this rule still applies. Even though participants aren't in the same physical space, distracted behavior is visible. Delays in response, missed cues, and disengaged body language reveal when someone's attention is elsewhere. The effectiveness of digital meetings depends even more on intentional presence. Ignoring this rule weakens team dynamics. It suggests that what's being discussed isn't worth full attention. It also leads to missed opportunities, nuances in tone, phrasing, or timing that could have sparked insight or avoided misunderstanding. Over time, it signals that meetings are just another thing to get through, not a space for real progress. Ultimately, switching off your phone during a meeting is a simple but powerful act of respect for the agenda, for your colleagues, and for the shared goal. It says, I'm here, I'm present, and this matters. And when everyone makes that choice, meetings move faster, go deeper, and achieve more. Meeting ground rule number 15, listen attentively and ask if you do not understand, one person at a time by raising your hand first. Effective meetings are built on attention, clarity, and mutual respect. Listening well is the first step. This rule addresses 3 core principles of good meeting behavior: listening, clarity, and orderly participation. Listening attentively means giving your full focus to the speaker, not just hearing the words, but understanding the intent behind them. In meetings where ideas evolve quickly and details matter, active listening ensures that valuable points are not missed or misinterpreted. When people listen with genuine attention, it elevates the entire conversation. It prevents repetition, reduces confusion, and builds on each other's input instead of circling back or talking over one another. It also sends a subtle but important message that each speaker's voice is valued and worth hearing in full before responding. Equally important is the practice of asking questions when something is unclear. Too often, people stay silent out of fear of looking uninformed, only to leave the meeting confused. This rule encourages open inquiry. If something isn't clear, ask. Clarification is not a sign of weakness. It's a commitment to understanding and moving forward with confidence. The second half of this rule, speaking one at a time by raising your hand, helps manage flow and prevents interruptions. Meetings often lose momentum when participants talk over each other, especially in emotionally charged or fast-paced discussions. Hand raising creates structure and fairness, allowing every voice to be heard without competition. In virtual meetings, this rule is just as critical. With slight audio delays and overlapping voices, interruptions become even more disruptive. Most digital platforms offer a raise hand feature. Using it ensures that discussion remains orderly and everyone gets their turn without confusion or frustration. The role of the chairperson or facilitator is essential in enforcing this rule. They must create space for questions, recognize hands promptly, and ensure that quieter voices aren't drowned out by more dominant participants. This helps maintain a balanced dialogue and encourages a more inclusive environment. When this rule is ignored, communication quickly breaks down. People talk over each other, points are missed, and misunderstandings grow. Some participants may withdraw altogether, feeling unheard or overwhelmed. The meeting becomes reactive rather than reflective, and progress is slowed by confusion or conflict. Listening and structured participation also reduce the likelihood of error. When people fully grasp the discussion and are given space to contribute or challenge ideas thoughtfully, the resulting decisions are more robust, informed, and widely supported. Ultimately, this rule promotes respect. Respect for the speaker, for the process, and for the shared goal of the meeting. Listening deeply, asking clearly, and speaking in turn transforms meetings into thoughtful, purposeful conversations where people feel seen, heard, and understood. And that's when real collaboration happens. Meeting ground rule number 16, respect other members' points of view, and if in contradiction to your own, raise it respectfully and be ready to justify with facts, not opinions. Disagreement is natural. How we handle it defines the quality of collaboration. In any meaningful meeting, differing viewpoints are not just expected. They're necessary. Diverse perspectives help surface blind spots, challenge assumptions, and ultimately lead to stronger decisions. But the value of disagreement depends entirely on how it is expressed. This rule reinforces that while it's perfectly acceptable to challenge an idea, it must be done with respect, clarity, and a fact-based approach. Respect begins with listening. Even when you strongly disagree with someone's point, it's essential to let them finish, understand their rationale, and avoid dismissive body language or interruptions. Meetings are not debates to be won. They're spaces for insight to emerge through structured exchange. When people feel respected, they are more open to both giving and receiving feedback. When disagreement arises, it should be raised constructively. The tone matters as much as the words. Phrases like, "I'd like to offer an alternative view," or "May I build on that from a different angle," invite collaboration rather than conflict. This keeps the room open, not defensive, and encourages everyone to focus on the issue, not the personalities involved. The second part of this rule is critical. Justify your position with facts, not just feelings or assumptions. Facts might include data, documented risks, relevant experience, customer input, or technical constraints. When you base your position on evidence, it invites logical discussion. When it's based purely on preference or opinion, it often leads to circular arguments or unresolvable tension. This rule also promotes personal accountability. It requires you to do the work before the meeting, understanding your stance, anticipating challenges, and being able to explain why your view holds merit. It also means being open to changing your position if others present stronger data or more complete context. When followed, this rule raises the overall quality of decision-making. Meetings become focused on outcomes, not egos. Discussions stay on track. People begin to trust that disagreement doesn't mean disrespect, and that all contributions are weighed based on merit, not volume or emotion. If ignored, this rule can cause breakdowns in communication. Disagreements escalate into personal conflicts. Meetings become tense, fragmented, or dominated by strong personalities. Over time, people stop speaking up altogether, fearing confrontation or feeling that respectful disagreement is not welcome. Leaders play an important role in modeling this rule. When they respond calmly to challenges, encourage fact-based dialogue, and shut down disrespectful tones, they set the tone for everyone else. Respectful contradiction becomes not just allowed, but encouraged as a sign of engagement and thoughtful participation. At its core, this rule is about maturity and discipline. Respecting someone's view doesn't mean agreeing with it. It means valuing their right to express it. And when all viewpoints are met with both openness and rigorous inquiry, meetings transform into powerful forums for insight, innovation, and shared progress. Meeting ground rule number 17, only one person speaks at a time. No shouting, arm waving, or gestures. Professional dialogue thrives on order, not volume. This rule is about maintaining decorum, clarity, and mutual respect in every meeting. Productive conversation can't happen when people speak over each other, raise their voices, or rely on physical gestures to dominate the discussion. Meetings are not arenas, they're platforms for thoughtful exchange. This rule sets the tone for respectful, focused, and balanced participation. When only one person speaks at a time, it allows everyone else to listen fully. It reduces misunderstandings, eliminates the need to repeat points, and ensures each speaker's contribution is heard in full. In contrast, when multiple people speak simultaneously, ideas are lost, confusion builds, and the group's energy becomes scattered and tense. Gestures like arm waving, finger pointing, or exaggerated body language might seem expressive, but they often carry unspoken emotional charge. They can be perceived as aggressive, dismissive, or performative, even if that's not the intention. Such behavior can shut others down, especially quieter participants, and shift the room's mood from collaborative to confrontational. This rule becomes even more important in diverse, multicultural, or cross-functional teams where communication norms vary. What one person sees as passionate expression may feel intimidating or inappropriate to another. Setting a shared standard of calm, measured communication levels the playing field and creates psychological safety for all. Shouting, no matter how brief, breaks trust. It turns attention away from the content of your message and onto your tone. It may silence others in the moment, but it erodes credibility and discourages future participation. People remember how a room felt more than what was said, and shouting always leaves a negative imprint. Enforcing this rule means gently but firmly redirecting the energy when someone interrupts, raises their voice, or uses forceful gestures. The chairperson should model composed behavior and intervene quickly when the conversation becomes emotionally charged. Clear verbal cues like, "Let's allow her to finish," or "one at a time, please," are enough to reset the tone. When this rule is ignored, meetings often spiral into reactive exchanges. Strong personalities dominate, others withdraw, and the group loses its ability to think critically or make well-considered decisions. Over time, the meeting becomes a place of tension rather than collaboration, and team cohesion weakens. Following this rule fosters a climate of mutual respect. It shows that every voice matters, not because it is the loudest, but because it adds value. It also helps people stay present and listen with intent, knowing they will get their turn to contribute without interruption or emotional escalation. Ultimately, one voice at a time is not just about courtesy, it's about effectiveness. Calm, composed, single-threaded conversations lead to clearer thinking, stronger outcomes, and meetings where people feel heard, respected, and eager to return. That's how great teams build great decisions.